Action. All right, welcome back to the Chemical Man podcast. Today I want to talk about something that I experienced here a while back, and it's pretty interesting. I applied for a job. This was years and years ago, but anyway, I applied for a job one time, and I sit there and I was applying for a wastewater treatment job. Right? I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna apply for this. See how it goes, see what happens on there. Anyway, I get a call from the recruiting agency. Say, hey, we wanna interview you. Can you set up a time? Set up a time for everything. Anyway, like the next day, I get a phone call saying, hey, this was so and so. I want to talk to you about this job. I'm thinking, okay, cool. I'm gonna talk about the waste treatment job. Well, anyway, he starts asking me questions that weren't really related to waste treatment. He started asking me questions about, do you know what AC/DC is, and or hertz, and volts, and meters, and all this stuff? And I'm thinking, wait a minute. I applied for a waste treatment job, not a electrician here. This is stuff. This is weird. So I tried to answer the question the best I could because I thought maybe at the beginning, like they're asking me some interesting questions, see what I know, just because maybe there might be something involved in that, but it really wasn't. So I answered the questions the best I could. I said, I don't know that. And then he's like, well, what about this? And I was like, well, I usually have electricians at the plant to take care of that. Okay. Then he asked me a question like, if you have a three-phase pump, how do you know it's spinning backwards? And what do you do? And I'm like, well, you reverse the leads on there, trying to answer the question. And finally, after about 10 minutes talking to him, I said, sir, I applied for the waste treatment job, not the not job what you were looking. He goes, oh, well, we get all the different resumes in and we look them over and we just kind of pick and choose what might be best fit for a job and who might work good in our area. I was like, okay. I said, okay, well, I appreciate that, but that's not, I really can't answer all those questions, because I'm an electrician. I know the basic stuff for like troubleshooting when I work on my car and stuff and when I'm out in the field, but as far as other things I can't. He goes, oh, that's okay. It all goes. So I got me thinking, like, what do you do in a situation like that? You applied for one job and you thinking you're getting a call for a job that you applied, but you get a call and you think you're going to be talking to somebody about the job you applied, but it's a totally different job. What do you do in that situation? What I did in that situation is I just had tried to answer the questions the best I could, and then if I didn't know anything, I just told them like, sir, I'm not familiar with that, or sir, I'm not familiar with this, And finally, towards the end, I just said it, hey, I thought this job was for a waste treatment job, but you're asking me stuff about electrician stuff, and I don't think I applied for that job. You got to kind of be honest with them. You kind of be upfront with them, tell them that if it's the wrong job that you applied for and they're asking about something else, tell them right off the bat, say, hey, look, I thought I applied for this, but you're asking me questions that don't really pertain to the job that I applied for, would be the best thing you could do. It was really weird. So I didn't get that. I didn't get the job, obviously. But like an hour later, I get an email saying, "Hey, we want to interview you for the waste treatment job from the same company. We want to interview you for the waste treatment job. Can you pick a date?" Okay, sure. I'll pick a date on that. So I end up getting the call from the guy, and I said, "Hey, I gotta ask." I said, "This is the waste treatment job I applied for, right?" And he goes, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, why do you ask?" I say, "Well, I just got a phone call yesterday for an interview from your same company, but it would sound like they were looking for an electrician." And that's when he goes, "Oh yeah, we usually just look at the resumes and we'll just pick who we want and we'll just go down and see if they look like they'll be part of the job scope or not." I was like, okay. I said, all right, well, hopefully this is the right one, and went from there. Ended up going through the interview, ended up going through everything out there, looking at everything, got called back. It's just the pay wasn't there, so I just turned it down because the pay wasn't as good as what I was already making. This was years ago when we had the buyout before we were Dow, so we were all scared and we were all looking for jobs and stuff like that. So just think, when you apply for a job and they call you for an interview, just make sure it's the interview. It's an interview of the job that you applied for. I wouldn't want anybody to apply for a job like I did, and you get a call from somebody else and you're asking random questions that you don't know. Just tell them, I don't know. I thought this was a different job that I applied for. I can't answer that. I'm not really familiar with that. Stuff like that. Just be honest with them. Don't don't try to do it, because in the grand scheme of things, how it all works out is if you just be honest with them, and then they're the same company that calls you for another job, well, then you'll be ready for the next time on there on that. But yeah, just be mindful of that. I happened to me, and I've heard it happen to a couple other people. But yeah, you apply at a big company for one thing, and the next thing you know, you got phone calls from the same company, but they're asking you for a different position than the one you applied for. So just be mindful of that, and just honesty is the best key. But anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there, saying, hey, take your time when you're interviewing. If you don't know something, just tell them you don't know. You're not familiar with it. Don't try to, like I said, don't try to go around and try to lie and say you know all that stuff. They will read right through that. They've done that multiple times. I've seen it in the past. But anyway, anybody that's having job interviews, anybody needs help with their resumes, anything at all, just email me. I've got plenty of questions and answers I've come up with over the years. I can help you with your resume. I can help you with all that stuff. I can't help you get the job, but I can help you get to where you want to be, and hopefully get called for interviews. I can help you with that on there too. Anyway, everybody have a good, safe time. Be safe out there. Like, share, subscribe. Until we talk to next time, y'all have a good one out there. All right, out.